put snow on us.
Oh my God, can it snow? Because I'm in Florida and it doesn't snow in Florida. So
Sure.
we can
do heavy snow.
Well, I don't know. Heavy snow might cover me up.
We can do lighter snow, and this is the lightest snow. Just very subtle snow. So
subtle snowing. I think she's subtly snowing on us.
Yeah, it's subtly snowing. You don't get snow. That is kind of sad.
No, yeah.
Hey, Christy's here.
Oh, hey, Christy. Hi.
Thank you, Christy.
Oh, yes. We each have our festive hats.
We both have bells. I don't know if you can hear that, but
we have, jingle bells. Jingle bells. Jingle.
Neither one of us could sneak up on anyone right now. We would.
I'd have to sneak up like this.
That's right. That's right. So,
if you can tell from our hats, we've decided to talk about, breastfeeding and the holidays, and especially one that's coming up right away for lots of people. This is going to be a great one. I mean, so Helen, what is our topic going to be about today?
So our topic is actually breastfeeding over the holidays. And this might seem like a topic that doesn't really need to be discussed unless you've been breastfeeding during the holidays. And then challenging.
I think it's a great thing that we're discussing it. By the way, we probably didn't say hi, everybody. Hi, it's Helen and Tobi.
Hi there.
YouTube. I definitely think it should be discussed because I feel like I had my daughter, Isabel, in October, near the end of October. So Thanksgiving and Christmas kind of like all of a sudden, whammo, were there. And, I faced a lot of different things with her and breastfeeding and family and food and everything. I just dealt with a lot of things that I don't think I was really prepared for. So I'm glad that we're doing a show talking about how moms can handle breastfeeding and the challenges that the holidays bring about.
It's really special. I mean, being pregnant over the holidays is wonderful. You have all these really adorable maternity clothes, but then I think once the baby's born and you have to manage sleepless nights, plus all the extra stress of the holiday season and the demands that people make on us moms. I think we put a lot of stress on ourselves to make every day really special, especially if, we have older kids that we're trying to move that elf on the shelf every night.
Oh, don't get me started on the elf on the shelf. Ours is lazy sometimes. Sometimes he just doesn't go visit Santa. Sometimes he goes, I thought he moved and he never moved at all. And my 7-year-old lets me know exactly what he hasn't done.
Yeah. So we're moving the elf on the shelf. I mean, the elf on the shelf is moving on its own, of course, if there's anybody, that's watching that doesn't realize that. But we're shopping for everyone and we're doing all of this stuff that really falls on us moms. And we love it. I know that I love making the holidays really great for my family, and having that fall on me is actually something that I really enjoy. I've always loved being a mom, and, I love giving gifts and making people happy. But that takes a lot of time and energy. And so that's sometimes time that we're not able to focus on breastfeeding, which can make things actually kind of tough.
Yeah, it can make it very stressful when you're trying to, especially if you're new in breastfeeding. If you've been breastfeeding for a decent, long amount of time, you really got it down. Maybe it's not as stressful the holidays, but definitely if you're newer in breastfeeding, you're just starting to figure it out, or you've maybe almost figured it out, and all of a sudden, bam, something new, jumps in. But before we fully get started, I wanted to say we're doing a giveaway from the show. We are going to be giving away 2 products, and it's going to be the Milky's Milk Saver that we're giving away right here. For moms that don't know, this is a way of passively collecting your breast milk on the opposite side of nursing. We always have to include boobs in the thing. So you're nursing, and while you're nursing, you're collecting breast milk on the opposite side instead of leaking and throwing it away in a pad and just wasting that breast milk. So we're going to be giving away some milk savers on the show. And then we're also going to be giving away our nursing time tea. And this is going to help moms enrich their breast milk as well as increase their breast milk supply. And it doesn't taste awful. It actually tastes pretty good. And it's just something that you're going to be drinking. So these are 2 great products, and we're going to be giving them away. We're going to be picking from the comments below. So we want to hear your comments. It definitely helps us to know more what we're talking about and sharing those great stories. And that's how we're going to pick those winners. So let's get started.
Okay, so some really great practical tips that we're going to talk about today. The first thing I want to talk to you about is something called holiday weaning syndrome, right? So did you know breastfeeding can be such a challenge for so many people? There's actually a name for what happens over the holidays. And holiday weaning syndrome is just caused by the normal holiday stress. We have the missed feedings. And then something you might not think about is you have a lot more bottles that are going to be fed by other people when you're not there. Okay, so just a lot of people that want to feed the baby. You know, you have people in from out of town and they just want to feed that baby. And that's great that you're using a bottle of your expressed milk, but you might not think about that's a lot more bottles than we typically feed during the day. And that can lead to some problems.
Well, and that's what moms have to think about is that, when we're dealing with the holidays, we've got several weeks of preparation and we're, like you said, we're going out, we're shopping. We might be leaving the baby home for a few hours. A bottle might actually happen. And here's the thing, when that bottle is happening and we're not pumping to go along with that, we're going to run into a lot more situations where, like you said, we're not actually breastfeeding. And then what's going to happen is obviously our breasts are full and our brain starts, if it happens more than once, oh no, our brain starts thinking, wait a minute, we don't need to produce as much breast milk. And if it happens too many times, it might actually decrease some breast milk supply, which, moms don't really think about when they have that going on the holidays.
Yeah, I think that's really important that we remember that breastfeeding doesn't last forever. It's really only something that you're going to do maybe for 1 or 2 years, right? And so that's only maybe 2 holiday seasons. And so it's worth it to make it a priority because we're going to have many, many holiday seasons with our family. So just keep in mind that you can make breastfeeding a priority. That's okay. Make nursing number 1 because that's going to make it's going to keep your milk supply strong. So if you need to go shop for gifts or you need to go do other holiday errands, nurse your baby before you go out. Okay. Or
take a friend with you that can be helping you do some stuff and you can be holding on to your baby and nursing while she's kind of, maybe showing you, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? She can actually be the hands, while your hands are actually occupied.
Yes, exactly. So instead of maybe someone that's in town says, hey, let me watch the baby and you go out, do your shopping, say, hey, why don't you come along with me instead and we'll shop together and we can spend time together. Plus maybe that family member can be your extra set of hands. And so that your baby can come along too. And then when your baby gets hungry or you feel like you need to empty your breasts, your baby's there with you.
Definitely. And I think it's just, it's something that happens and we don't even realize, like it creeps up on us that we've got all these things that we're trying to do because, we're super women. We are Wonder Woman. We're getting everything done. We're going to do this and we're going to do 5,000 things at the same time. And I know we can do it, obviously, but sometimes there might be a little bit of a slip here and there. And we just want to make sure that the breastfeeding is not slipping. So that's really the biggest thing that we're trying to encourage you moms about is to just be aware that, if you're doing any skips anywhere, if you're having family and friends help you out by using a bottle, just remember that, you want to make sure you get a pump in there or some extra breastfeeding done to kind of make up for that.
Yeah, that's a great point because we want to be sure that we have more. You're going to want to empty your breast if you can't. So somebody's watching your baby for you. You want to be sure that you either hand express or use your pump because that's going to make up for that feeding that you missed.
Definitely. So now we're going to have like, okay, so we've got this, we've made it aware to moms about, you've got all this extra stuff going on, just make sure you're paying more attention to how much nursing that you're doing, or if you're missing nursing. But let's talk about the thing that I think is not really talked about is now I have all these family members that are not normally here at my house. Right. Cousin Joe, who I see only twice a year. And, Aunt Fran, who I maybe see once every 3 years. They're now all at my house, and I'm breastfeeding, and none of them breastfed. So they're all formula people. And
yes,
what am I going to do? I normally just sit there and breastfeed. Now I have all these people that are in the middle of my living room and my kitchen. Now I have to breastfeed. What do I do? What am I going to do? I mean, I know what I did, but I want to hear what you moms did.
Yeah, give us some ideas. So how you handled kind of relatives that you didn't see often that maybe weren't the most breastfeeding supportive. So some things that you can do, a few sort of non-confrontational plans here. First of all, you can just tell people that this is what we've decided on. I've talked to my pediatrician and we've decided to breastfeed for at least 1 year, maybe even 2. We'll see. And then change the subject. You want to get into a big debate.
No.
Yeah. Kelly, I think that's a great comment about nursing.
Right? Religion, breastfeeding, and politics. Got to be careful. With that.
Yes, exactly. So there's always, we do know those people in our family, either it's an aunt or it's a cousin or just whoever, people that you normally wouldn't spend a ton of time with. And you're going to be feeding your baby and they may feel like they need to really comment on that. And they do it because they love you. We know these are your relatives and, no matter what they say, we love them and we always will. But sometimes we need to just be able to manage some of the criticism. Another thing that relatives say is they might compare the way you're feeding your baby to the way they fed their baby. So they, yes. So they might say something like, yeah, I fed formula with rice cereal and your mother slept all night. So this is what your grandma's going to say or whoever. And so this might be something that you have to manage. And the best thing that you can say is just say, for us, this is the choice that we're making. And he eats a lot because he's growing. And it's my job to feed him whenever he's hungry. So I do breastfeed a lot. So
Michelle's comment, I agree. You're going to, everyone's going to handle those situations differently. It's going to depend on that fussy one. I definitely heard that from my parents. My parents were like, seems like she really is eating a lot. Maybe she's not getting enough food. Maybe you should give her some formula because when I gave you formula, which you obviously did just fine, Tobi, you didn't eat for 9 hours. I mean, it was this like crazy amount of time, which I know was totally not true. But, I that's something that, or how long are you going to be still? Oh my gosh, you're still doing this. It's been long. Right. Yeah. I do think that we all have to approach things differently. And I'd love for you mamas to share your experiences, your stories, so that other moms are going to see these stories and know that they're not alone, that all of us get these statements and these questions. And please definitely share our live because, this is going to be helping some moms. And that's what we're here about. But I definitely said things. I tried not to be too informational to my parents because it just kind of like, I felt like I was talking to a wall. All I did was stress me out. I would say things like, well, breastfed babies definitely eat differently, than formula fed babies. So this is very normal for her to do that. Or I would say, I just try to figure out ways to, or I would say things like you said, actually my pediatrician suggested that breastfeeding, up to 6 months or for 1 year is recommended, very healthy for the baby. Come up with ways to, share and educate without maybe bombarding them and saying confrontational things, because then obviously they're going to come back at you and then you're going to come back and then it's just going to be a big argument. And I don't know, let's just argue over the turkey instead.
There's enough to argue about. But I think a good thing to realize is that sometimes we can take people that may not be breastfeeding supporters, and if they're the right kind of person, you can kind of transform them into breastfeeding advocates. And there's some different ways you can do that. The first one is by talking about the health benefits of breastfeeding. You can say, you know, science shows that my baby will have fewer ear infections, have to go to the doctor fewer times because I share my antibodies through my breast milk with my baby. And you know what? Breast milk is free. So that's much more money that I have left over to buy you Christmas presents.
I love that one. I love that one. And I loved Heather's comment where she said education as opposed to alienation.
Yeah.
I think, you know, because it's stressful on us moms. And, you know, I'm not saying that there isn't a time that you eventually have to maybe, I don't know, never talk to your cousin again because you were rude, and maybe you're happy about that. But, you know, it's all about positive reinforcement, some education. And a lot of times their statements and their questions are not judgments. They're just, they're like, wow, gosh, that just, maybe you should be doing it differently, or, you know. And yeah, definitely I agree with that, Christy. Honey, not vinegar. But, you know, if there is somebody you want to throw a little vinegar at, that's okay too.
Well, we've had some questions about supply, and I wanted to address that a little bit. So remember that every time we empty the breast, we are telling our milk-making cells to make more milk. So during the holidays, a lot of times we breastfeed or pump less frequently just because of demands on our time. So be sure that you are breastfeeding whenever you're with your baby. Be sure and offer the breast, and also do breast compression whenever you're breastfeeding. So I'll put a link to a video about breast compression, but this is the time in the video when we're going to touch our boobs again. We always have to have one of these.
Yeah, let's do it.
Remember that what we're going to do is just start kind of at where our rib cage is, kind of here, and we're just going to move the milk down and out of the breast, okay? And we're going to make a C, and then move the milk out, okay? And that's going to help more thoroughly empty the breast. And the more completely your breasts are emptied, the more your body's going to get that signal to make more milk. And remember, a softening of the breasts is normal around 4 or 5 weeks. So you're going to have this oversupply, and your breasts are going to feel really firm. And then kind of as your milk supply regulates, your breasts feel softer. And a lot of moms get the impression that they're not making enough milk anymore. But just look at your baby. If your baby's satisfied, you're doing great.
Yeah. I mean, just remember, it's those 6 wet diapers, and a couple of them have the poopy diapers. You're always doing great. And I mean, you know, and sometimes, you know, depending on your situation, there are some things like our lactation tea that really, you know, if you're doing it multiple times during the day, can help to increase breast milk supply and help to enrich your breast milk. So, you know, remember, we're going to be giving some of those away. And I think those are some really great products to do that. Now, Helen, as I said, we were talking about, I breastfed in front of people because, you know, I didn't seem to have a problem doing that. I did wear, I saw some of our, someone said something about they wore the, you know, the right type of nursing tops so that they were able to breastfeed easily, and it was, you know, discreet. And they felt more comfortable with that. But a lot of people use the covers, which I think is great too. But I know I was nursing. This is a really great story that I wanted to share. And hopefully maybe some moms might inspire, you know, their own family members with this and not even realize it. That there was me and my cousin. She actually was breastfeeding the same time. Our babies are only a few months apart. And she definitely was more of a private person. And I don't think she ever tried to breastfeed in front of everybody. So she always went into the room, but I'm not around her very much. So I didn't know she was doing that. So it was great. One Christmas was that I was there, and, you know, I'm around them more often. So I just kind of whipped it out, and you don't see all of it. It's kind of covered up, and I was breastfeeding. And it was interesting because she saw me doing that and saw everyone in the family really okay with it. And later that day, obviously we're here all day for Christmas. She came back out, and she brought her cover, which I think is, I was happy however she wants to do it. And she actually breastfed her daughter out with everybody instead of going into the room. And I feel like it was like this subtle thing of her just seeing me doing it and seeing everyone being fine that encouraged her to come out and do it too. So, sometimes just doing something like that encourages, other family members in their breastfeeding journey or future breastfeeding journey.
Yeah. I love that story because I think you really probably didn't just affect your cousin, but also everyone that was in that room. They saw you breastfeeding without any shame and just with confidence. And it's possible that they've gone on in their lives and been okay with seeing other women do the same. So I think we never know how far our example is going to travel. And so be sure that when you have the opportunity, just be yourself and be confident that you're taking that.
Yes. And whatever feels good for you. And we're all about positivity here. And we know that everybody's journey is different. And we know that everybody has different things that they're okay with, so, I like to share that story because it was something that I was able to affect her in her breastfeeding journey. It really felt good. So I saw everyone to try the nursing time tea. Let me tell you, Rachel, the one thing about the nursing time tea, as opposed to other teas, is that most of the other teas on the market have this really strong black licorice taste. And unless you like black licorice, which I think most of us, I know I don't. How about you, Helen? Do you like black licorice?
Not a big fan.
And I think most women would say, not a big fan. And I think the problem with the teas that are on the market is that they taste like black licorice and they just don't taste good and no one wants to drink them. Whereas ours definitely doesn't have that. It's really light tasting and you have to drink a lot of it, to kind of keep that supply up. So it's definitely something that whoever wins it, several people will. I'm excited to hear what you guys think about it because it's really good. It's really good.
Yeah. It is. We serve it when we travel at our booths. We serve it and people always say, oh, this is really good. They really like it. And it is fenugreek free, Chelsea. Yes, it's got alfalfa, goat through, and some other. Someone's phone.
Someone's trying to call me on my phone.
Okay.
Yes.
Call her back later.
It's fenugreek free and definitely has a lot of the other properties that we talked about that will help enrich your breast milk as well as increase your breast milk supply.
Yeah, and we're learning so much about goat through. Actually, goat through is also in the nursing time tea, but it helps to regulate your insulin level, which is another hormone that we're finding out really affects milk supply in a positive way. So it's really a wonderful blend of all of these galactagogues. They're going to work together to really help your milk supply.
I see Rachel saying that she had to go to a separate room for Thanksgiving. Was that something that you felt like you had to do because you felt it was coming from you, or was it coming from your family members? I would love to know that because I do think a lot of moms feel a little bit like, I don't want to. I don't want to have all these people bombard me with stuff, or I don't want people to judge me, or I just I'm uncomfortable with everything.
Yeah.
So there's so many reasons why moms do that.
Yeah. Well, a couple more things that I want to talk about related to holidays and breastfeeding. So the next one, this is something that those of us that are 21 and over really have questions about a lot of times. But it's alcohol and breastfeeding.
Yes. It is the holidays. We are
holidays.
Fun.
Yeah, when it's not the holidays, right? Moms, we're in bed at like 9 o'clock. I'm way too tired to drink usually, but you're out, special occasion.
And yourself, Helen, I was an all-nighter. I was up all night long.
So, okay, so some strategies with alcohol and breastfeeding. So if you're out, you're going to imbibe, it's actually okay to have a drink or two while you're breastfeeding. So some strategies to think about is remember that breast milk comes from the nutrients that are in our blood. And that's how the alcohol gets into our milk, is because the alcohol gets into our blood. And so what you want to do is either breastfeed before you drink or right after, actually, because you'll be able to empty that breast before the alcohol has a chance to get into your breast milk.
Or it takes a while. I mean, you're drinking it, it's got to go to your belly, and then it has to like get into the bloodstream. And that does, I don't know exactly how long that takes, but that does take, you know, more than a 30 or 40 minute time frame. So breastfeeding right before or breastfeeding literally right after is a good idea. Not 4 drinks later, but you know, maybe one drink later is fine.
Yeah. If you're drinking and breastfeeding, I guess that's okay as long as you have a place to set your drink. But also just make it 1 or 2, not talking about binging. But if you do
the pump and dump thing one time, if you wanted to drink a little bit more than maybe one or 2, there's always the pump and dump that we could do.
Yeah, and we talked about that. Tobi and I were chatting about that earlier about how pumping and dumping can be sad, right? You're pumping and dumping. I mean, just that can be pretty tough. So just remember that unless you've really had a lot to drink, really, really several, almost like a binge drinking session, you're probably going to be okay to go ahead and just feed that milk or to pump, especially if you're mixing that milk with previously pumped milk. So what you want to do is if you feel like your milk has a lot of alcohol in it, is just mix it with other milk. And so it becomes very diluted. And that way you can go ahead and save that milk and use it another time.
And what you're meaning by that is because I don't, you know, is that if you pumped it and you don't want to dump it, then just pump more later that definitely doesn't have any alcohol in it, and you can mix that together so you're not dumping. I know when I had to dump, and I had to dump not because of drinking, but I had to dump because my daughter was actually allergic to nuts, and I'm not allergic to nuts. And I'm sitting here having a discussion with my girlfriend about how my daughter just recently was diagnosed, a nut allergy, and I was eating peanut butter cups. The little one. And I was telling her this story. I think I ate like 6 or 7. And she's looking at me, and it takes a little while for the story and what I'm eating to I don't know, realize in her brain. It's like, well, how come you're eating Reese's Pieces? There's peanut butter in there. And I was like, oh my gosh. So, I didn't know how long it stayed in my system. There was no way that I was like trying to research and find out. There was no way to tell. So I ended up pumping and dumping like 3 times the rest of the day because I just was so worried about that. And every time I poured it out, I was like, oh.
Right. Oh, yes.
Oh, my husband thought I was like insane. He goes, I don't think it's that emotional, Tobi. I'm like,
yes.
It's that emotional.
It is. Yeah.
Emotional.
It looked like Rachel answered your question. She said that her daughter wouldn't latch and she was acting stressed. And I think that's a really common thing when our babies are overstimulated is that they're not going to latch. They're going to be fussy. They're going to probably be looking around at all the activity. They might have some little cousins that really want to hold them or really want to interact with them. So if you do have to go into another room and just kind of destimulate in order to get your baby to latch, don't be afraid to kind of take a break from the festivities and do that.
And I never even thought of that, as being overstimulation, because you do have lots of people there and there's lots of people holding, your baby. Again, it's a different situation than something that we deal with on a daily basis. So, going into that private room because you couldn't get a latch and, maybe when she's settled and she's doing really good and you want to out, I encourage that. That's a great thing.
Yeah. Do what you need to do. Really, your baby's the priority. As much as we have people here probably from all over the world to see you during the holiday season and all these different kind of ways that you're being pulled on, be sure that that your baby needs you too. And so be sure that you're kind of really paying attention to those cues, even though we have all these other things that are pulling us. So
I feel like we're talking about such great things that really, I think, help moms. And that's the whole reason what the Boob Tube is all about, and is positive, sharing stories, sharing experiences. So please, if you think this would definitely help some moms out there, share this live on your Facebook page. And remember, we are giving away some products. So we're going to be giving away the Milk Saver, and we're going to be giving away the Nursing Time Tea. So we're going to be picking from the comments below. Also, it is the festive holiday times, we are giving away 10% discount also. Just use the Facebook Live coupon code when you go to our website, which is mymilky.com, where we have lots and lots and lots of amazing breastfeeding products that are there for you guys. It's something else I wanted to talk about on the holidays that a lot of times people think about is, me, I'm a little bit of a control freak. Not really, but if I look in the mirror and I'm honest with myself, I'm the control freak. And I want to be able to not only be the breastfeeding, not only be every food item that everyone's going to eat, and supervise and be in the kitchen. It's definitely something I feel like we should talk about that too, because you know what, moms, you are super women. You can do everything, but if you're getting overly stressed about it, then realize that you might have to relinquish some of that control. Let somebody else make some of the food items. They actually want to. They want to help you. They want to be there for you. And this is a great way to let them be able to do that, is let them cook some of the food and you just, supervise as you're, holding your baby and nursing. And
you'll be the hostess. You'll be the hostess. Right. Don't be ashamed about potlucks. Okay. So if you usually put on this huge dinner party this year, if you're nursing, just say, hey, everybody bring your favorite dish. That is certainly okay. And you know what? All of us mamas, we all want to make your holiday season as easy as possible. Nobody's going to be upset with you or feel like you're not doing what you need to do. So just think about some ways that maybe this holiday season, if you're breastfeeding, you can make things just a little easier on yourself and kind of spread around just a little bit of the work once in a while.
Yeah. Just because, sometimes breastfeeding is, we don't want the stress of everything else to affect our breastfeeding, because that's the one thing we definitely don't. And obviously, the turkey will survive to live
it won't survive, but yeah.
Really live another day, but you know what I mean? All the food and messed up dishes will survive to live another day. Breastfeeding possibly, and having any type of interruption or any extra stress with that is something we don't want. So that's really what we talk about.
So, right. And then something that we do that's really stressful over the holidays, a lot of times, is traveling. So travel can really add a lot of stress to your life as well. So we have some kind of practical ways that you can make traveling just a little bit easier. So Tobi, you traveled while you were breastfeeding before, right? With the pump and milk and all this supplies.
I did. And so I pumped my milk in the beginning when I was going to get on the plane. And my thought process around that was because, I wasn't confident in necessarily nursing next to somebody. So I thought, well, I'll pump some milk. And when we go to take off, because obviously I can't be up anywhere when we take off. And I wanted my baby to be drinking and swallowing so that her ears would pop. That was like a thought process of mine. And what I ran into, and this is a little while ago, maybe it's better now, but I ran into, they were expecting formula, and they were okay with formula in the line, for TSA. And, but of course I don't have, breast milk's not powdered. It's not the liquid form. And, they saw that it was already put together, and they were like, "Oh, you can't bring this liquid onto the plane." And I did have it in more than 4 ounces. I think I had 6, and there was a big stressful conversation back and forth. And I did request a supervisor to come over, and I did talk about, you're letting formula on. Breast milk is equal as far as this consideration is concerned, but obviously my breast milk cannot be separated in a powdered form. So my biggest thing I would suggest for moms is to remember that 4 ounce quantity. Try to make it 3 ounces. So have it in like a couple bottles of just 3 ounces. You're going to bring pumped breast milk onto the plane. So that maybe you don't, I think the biggest reason I ran into that was because I had too many ounces, and that already was one flag. And then if you run into somebody, that's the one person, ask for a supervisor, because a lot of times the supervisor is the one who actually would make the decisions anyways. And, You just have to stand up for your breast milk.
Stand up for it. That's right. Well, and a couple other ways you can stand up for your breast milk. If the TSA person does have to search your bag and handle your breast milk containers, it's okay to ask them to change their gloves, because they probably handled many things of varying cleanliness throughout the day without changing their gloves. So since your baby's going to be consuming that, it's okay to ask if they change their gloves before they handle your pump or your breast milk or anything like that. And remember that your pump counts as a carry-on item, like a purse or any personal item. So if you could,
I hate that you do that, because it's like your stroller and your car seat are not considered a carry-on item, but your breast pump is. And what if you're an exclusively breast, pumping mom? Yeah. Now you've got to pack it away, or you have to count it as a carry-on personal item. I think that has to change.
It should change. We should lobby those people. So if you have a manual pump that you like, that might be easier to pack on. Or if you are good at hand expressing, you can use no equipment. You just take these babies, right? And on the plane with you, and you can hand express in the bathroom. So if you're not pumping, if you just have your baby along, that's what I did. I've traveled with my baby twice when she was breastfeeding, and I didn't bring a breast pump with me at the time, so I didn't have to worry about any of that stuff. But she was, there was no place to change her. That was my issue, is that there was no changing table in the airplane bathroom, and she had a blowout, and I think I was just crying, like, what am I gonna do? There's no place, and I'm not gonna. So anyway, it was that was my challenge. Really, it was a poopy diaper instead of a breast pump. So it felt pretty traumatic to me.
No, I mean, traveling with your baby is traumatic. I remember when I had mine. I'm holding my. Here I am by myself. I'm holding my daughter. I have the stroller. I have this. I have the bags. And they're looking at me going, "You have to break down that stroller." And I'm looking at them going, "Okay." And it's like,
yeah.
And they just stare at you like, and this, and I'm like, yeah. I mean, definitely traveling on top of the holidays with your baby breastfeeding can be truly stressful. So try to have some pre-planned. We can almost have like an episode of just traveling with your baby.
Traveling with your baby, and we can. Yeah, I think that'd be really fun. So Tobi and I have been friends for a long time, so we have a lot of times when we both have to travel somewhere with our babies, and worked at the Milky's booth along with our babies. And so we have a lot of experience doing that, and kind of breastfeeding in really breastfeeding friendly areas once we get there. I mean, a breastfeeding conference, if you're going to breastfeed, I'm telling you, it's perfect.
Yeah, the conference was a great way to do it. But
getting there.
That was the challenge.
Yeah.
I will have to say, I used a sling, not for my first one, but for my second daughter, for Isabel. The sling was like a godsend for me. So I don't know if any of you moms are using slings. There's all different kinds, different brands. I like the one that I have, but I felt like the sling freed my hands up, so everything seemed a little bit easier because she was in the sling. She could be nursing in the sling, and I don't know, when you have one hand not available, even though I could get everything done, it was a little more stressful to have that. And I think it's great that airports are getting a lot more friendly with liquids.
Yes, I love that. I love that, Brenda. That's great.
Yes, thanks, Brenda, for sharing that. I mean, that's what we're all about, is sharing these stories and sharing this information for moms. But yeah, my daughter is 7, so that was about 6 years ago that I was traveling with my liquid breast milk. I think what I said to the guy, I said, "There's no thing as powdered breast milk, so tell me where it is, and I'll supply it." That's totally fine.
Right. No, I get that, but I think that it's really important that we're always in that mode of education.
Yeah.
It's really easy when we're feeling stressed and harried and there's a baby crying that we are saying, seriously, you don't get that this is breast milk? But instead, we really need to take that patience and be sure that we're treating everybody with, that opportunity to educate them about breast milk. And so maybe the next mom that comes up with breast milk, they're a little more prepared for that, right?
That was not a shining moment for me. It was definitely,
That's okay. Tobi, we love you anyway. We always, no matter what. So.
Well, I hope that this has been a great live for everybody, and please share. I think we've talked about some great things and shared some great stories, and we are excited to pick those winners out of the ladies that have been commenting. So until next month when we have 2018 Facebook Live.
Oh my gosh, 2018, that's crazy.
That's crazy. I can't wait to see everybody. All right, everybody, so we love that you were sharing the stories. Just what you want to say, Helen?
I just want to say, have whatever you're celebrating. I hope it's wonderful. I hope you and all your families have just the warmest and best holiday season. And that as you go into 2018, we all just continue to be grateful for each other and support each other in whatever our journey and whatever our mommy choices are.
Yes.
And yeah.
All right. Happy holidays, everybody.
Thank you. Come on.